Right, so ready to get started. First and most important thing for me, should be with anyone really, safety first. I've got me a jack under there. I've got an axle stand in case the jack slips or anything happens with that. I've taken the wheel off because we are going to be going over here. The pump is behind those covers there. And I've got wheel chocks at the back and to cover the tires in case the car starts rolling, if the handbrake slips or anything. So if we start just by looking into the job, we're going to go right at the bottom. So this pump here where it says R134A, that's the aircon pump obviously. Below that is the power steering pump, which as I said we're going to get to from the side. The car hasn't been losing power steering fluid. I've checked it twice on different occasions and it doesn't seem to be losing fluid, but you can see there is some sort of a leak, so maybe it's a very minimal one. That's the power steering pump. So there's the main crank, there's the pump. I'm gonna get in there, gonna loosen those 3 bolts there, the Allen key bits, because once the belt comes off, at the moment there'll be tension on there, but once that belt's off or the pump's out, they're going to be a bit harder to take off. So I'm going to loosen those now but leave them in there just so it's easier to take them off once I got the pump out. To do that I want to loosen the tensioner there. I'm going to use a adjustable spanner just to hold on to the tensioner, pull it my way, and that should release the tension from the belt. Now next bit of it is we've got the intake pipe. It doesn't need to come off, just needs to come out of the way. You got a 13mm nut, this one here, that comes off. Pulled it off. This is the clamp, I'm just using it to support it there so it's nice and secure. The alternator belt was the tensioner was obviously just below these pipes, and you've got the, if you can see, that's the adjustable spanner on there. It's on there quite loosely, it only needs a bit of force, and then you need something to hold that tensioner in place when we loosen and when we take the tension off the belt. So I'm just taking it using a normal household screw, nothing fancy. You pull the tensioner back, hold the tensioner in place just there. So that's that. I'll push the screw in. Oh, the camera's moved. There you go. It's putting quite a bit of force on there, but that'll do the job. It's going to hold it in place. And then you can see the belt will just be loose here at the bottom. I'll take that off the pump. There you go. That's the belt off. And the rest of it's underneath. What I want to do is that pipe there, I've got to take that off, but first off had to take this plug off. So if I can somehow, by the way, this light thing's very handy. Fibre off eBay, best investment ever. Right, so if I can show you that in there, you can see that plug. On the other side of it is a fastener, is where it's fastened. Now, it was on there very tight, so I'll show you from the top. So if you can see, that's the wire there running along now, and I had to use a plier to take this off. And you want to be very careful because it's going to be so easy to break the cable on this. It's been in there for years. So that's a little bit there now. I use the plier to grip the bit which fastens onto the which keeps the plug in place basically, and then the actual bottom end of the plug I was holding it with that, and ever so slightly I clipped it in and then wiggled the plug off, and that was enough to detach the plug and for me to be able to grab it, and it's come straight off now very easily. And now the next thing I want to do is take that pipe off. Now that I'm going to try and take off with the socket, just because it's going to be so much easier to do from here. On the other side it's a very difficult angle. Plug. So here's the plug from earlier. This is the one that I said, you know, the plug was on there quite hard, it was difficult to take off. So this literally just screws into that. Okay, I'm going to leave my old one on there. So this is what took ages to take off, just because it was a bit of a difficult angle. You can get in the end I had to use a really long extension with a 22mm socket and take it off. But yeah, that comes off. So disconnect that, take this off. There's a washer in there. I'm going to take a look at both to see which washer I use, but I'll probably end up leaving the one I've got in there, or am I using this one? I don't know. Let's see which one's better. But yeah, that took long. The other thing is this sensor, you can take it off with a long reach socket as well. So it's a 22mm socket, and you can take that off, and then just, I would say you probably from this side you should be able to get a spanner in there. A 22mm spanner is just a really tight angle to work on. So yeah, if you can sort that out. Right, that's in there with one bolt. I'm gonna now prise that out. So I'll probably show that in next clip actually, because just so you can see how I do it. There's a pipe on underneath. The final pipe, which is one on here, has just got a normal clamp on there, which I'll take off with the pliers. Move that pipe off, take the pump out, or I might even take the pump out and then take the pipe off, just so I can slide it straight back on. And yeah, let's see how we go. So we've managed to get it all sorted. Took a bit longer than I expected, but I've got it there in the end. 3 bolts on this side, 1 on the other, and that's just the 4th one on the other side. It's quite an awkward position. Had to do it by hand with the spanner, thread by thread. It just took ages. So I've left that one in there. I'm gonna put a bit of grease on that. I've got the other 3 out, put some grease on them, put them back in. If I show you on the old pump, so behind the pulley, 1 bolt there, 1 there, holding it up, just like that, and then you got 2 underneath, which are these ones here. This is the one that I've left in. Right, here we are, final bit of the puzzle. Here's the last bit. This bolt's still in there, as I said. So what I'm going to do is try and just move this part a little bit over, take this bolt out, but leave it in there as much as I can, just because it's going to be so much easier than trying to put it back in. Then this pipe's got to come off. Take it off. Probably got a bit of fluid leaking out of there. And then just put the new pump in. I've greased up the corners of the pump. So here, and the top bit where the bolt goes in. Just grease those bits in, because it's just going to be so much easier to get back in. And then as soon as you can, pop that pipe back on. And this is the other bit. Yeah, then it's just a case of fitting it back in. One thing I forgot to mention was right, so this bit I've tightened down, and so this is the power steering pipes, basically, the in and out. That bit there, tighten down this one over here as well, so just that bit coming out. Rightio then. Now I've been driving the car like for about a month, haven't done this pump, and I always like to make sure I put up something to show it's working. I did have a video where at the beginning where I showed what the actual noise was, but that video I've managed to delete somehow. Well, I was recording it on my mum's phone because my battery died, but that's another story. But yeah, I'll show you. Power steering's all working fine, and there's no kind of noise coming from the outside. If I've had any leaks, it works. So yeah, perfect. Back to loving the TT life.